Hello everyone. I'm so excited to be with you today, and I'm just even beyond excited to introduce the 2021 Burroughs Wellcome Fund North Carolina Charter Schools Teacher of the Year, Mr. Jeremy White. Jeremy worked at Westlake Preparatory Academy in Denver, North Carolina as a kindergarten teacher. Jeremy has 11 years of teaching experience, and 5 of those years he taught in Japan. He received his bachelor's degree from Elon University and his master's degree from the University of North Carolina at Charlotte. Jeremy has implemented and organized the African American Wax Museum K-1 program at his school. He is a published author of In His Shadow, Growing Up with Reggie White, and a children's book titled Estelle and Gustav. Please help me introduce Mr. Jeremy White. And I'll pass it to you, Jeremy.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Starr. Thank you for everybody who is watching right now and all the BTs. Me and my team were really excited to be able to speak with you today and to offer you some insight on just building towards being better as an educator for all 1.5 million of our kids across North Carolina. And we thought it'd be good if we could use our collective experiences and our expertise to answer some questions about being a teacher and how to help you excel. So before we do that, though, I'd like to let my team kind of go around and introduce themselves and the wonderful people and educators that they are. So if we can start with Miss Nicole Rivers.
Hello, everyone. I am the 2021 Burroughs Wellcome Fund Sand Hills Region Teacher of the Year, and I'm excited to be here with you.
And then anybody else who wants to take the mic.
Good morning. My name is Jenny Bryan. I am the Burroughs Wellcome Fund 2021 Southeast Region Teacher of the Year, and I'm a high school social studies teacher with Brunswick County Schools.
I'm Erin Ellington. I am the 2021 Northwest Region Burroughs Wellcome Fund Teacher of the Year.
Everyone again this morning. My name is Eugene and I'm 2021 Burroughs Wellcome Fund North Carolina Teacher of the Year. And I represent the North Central region as well. So welcome everyone. I'm so excited to be a part of the panel.
All right, we are so happy to be here and talk with you guys. I will just go ahead and jump right into it. So when we think about this year and we think about all the strains that have come being in the pandemic for, well, still 2.5 years at this point, what is, I'll pose it out to my team, what is something that you learned this year? And I know Jenny, Brian, you may have had a lot to say about what specifically you've learned this year, especially being a mom of 2 now.
Absolutely. And speaking of being a mom of 2, I've got my 3-month-old right here down below me, and my 5-year-old who tested positive for COVID this week in the room with me. So if you hear some things, that's but yeah, I've been teaching for 12 years. This is my 12th year in the classroom. I've had the pleasure to teach in 2 different school districts, Pitt County and Brunswick County, at 2 different high schools. And of course, this was an extremely challenging year, across the board. We kind of, I think, hoped for this, let's get back to normal, return to normalcy. And this year was anything but a normal year. Both system-wide kind of, and personally for me, I went out on maternity leave back in March. But one big thing I learned this year, and I really have been fortunate enough to always know this, but it was just extra true this year, is the importance of colleagues who have your back and will support you and step up for you and step in for you when times get tough. I'm not going to lie, the teachers on my hallway, we were basically like a country music song this year in terms of just kind of hard stuff going on. I think we could like meet like every part of the lyric, except I don't think anybody's dog died. But in terms of just life being hard personally, aside from what was going on in the school building, we've had a tough year as a hallway, and time again, my colleagues, who I'm fortunate enough to call friends, just stepped up and supported one another and helped each other get through what was a really tough year. And so, for those of you who are just beginning your career, I hope for you, I wish for you that you have folks in your buildings and in your spaces who you can lean on and turn to when times get tough. If you don't have those folks immediately in your building, or right next to you, I would say seek them out. Go and find, your people. Maybe it's attending a professional development workshop at NCAT, or it's getting plugged in to some really cool Twitter chats and kind of connecting with people that way. But find a network of colleagues that you can lean on during these tough times, especially as you begin your career. We are so excited that you have chosen this career, that you are joining us in this career, and we want you to be able to stick around in this career. And part of that is having folks who understand you, who get you, who understand the challenges, and that can support you in these challenges.
Did anyone else want to add? I know Aaron may have had something you wanted to add.
I do, and coming at you all from the Bogue Banks Public Library, and so you just flag me down if I'm frozen or you can't hear me or something's not working. But welcome everybody. I'm so glad that y'all are joining us today. And just what Jenny said, you just need your people. Our cohort that we've had, our Regional Teacher of the Year cohort, led by Eugenia, has been just a source for uplifting. We uplift each other even when we don't try to. And so I'm just going to echo Jenny on that. You just need your people. In addition to that, I really learned this year that I need to learn to be patient. A lot of the initiatives and plans that we all had as a Regional Teacher of the Year group, we really and our kids need it. Okay, so I don't think that we are wrong in wanting things done today, right now for the kids. But what I had to really come to peace with is that change takes time, and whether that be a lesson that you are delivering, for the first time, and you're like, that bombed, that's okay. You're going to get another chance to do that. That it takes time. So be okay with that. The other thing is, if you are something you're growing in professionally, something that your team is working through, something your school district strategic plan, these things take time, and it's okay to let yourself be okay with that. That was something that I had. That was sort of an aha moment that I just, I like to see results immediately and realize that it's okay to be patient. So just give yourself that grace. It's okay.
So Aaron, to follow up with that, you were hinting at things may not always go to plan. And how do you shift that into a growth opportunity?
That's an awesome question. I would say, I'm just going to repeat what I just said, is be graceful about, or give yourself grace about letting time go as it needs to. The people that need to come to you in that moment of time to make that change happen, they will present themselves. The opportunities will present themselves to you. And then also lean on your team. I've worked with, I'm a clinical educator with Appalachian State University. I'm in the Northwest over here in Boone, although I'm at the beach today, but anyway, that's confusing. Anyhow, Appalachian State is wonderful, and I hope there's some BTs here that might be representing. But we have clinical educators in our schools and students coming through all the time, and a lot of kids, as I was, a lot of students and beginning teachers, I feel like, are afraid to ask questions. I was too. And so please, I personally, I'll speak for myself, but I really geek out about this stuff. I want to help you. And so turning something that didn't go your way into a growth opportunity, lean on your veteran teachers. Find those people in your building that you feel comfortable with. They may not be the people in your content area. They may be an admin. They may be a fellow BT. I had, when I started teaching, my friend Angela Combs and I were both in the same boat, and we just didn't relent going to ask people with questions. And so we learned it together. So I just highly recommend find what you already have and use it. Don't try to reinvent anything. Just lean on the people that you have.
So as these DTs continue to find their best practices and they continue to refine their pedagogies and how they their educational philosophies, Nicole, talk to me about how you build authentic relationships with your students and how you build relationships with your peers that you're around, even in the midst of trying to juggle all the other responsibilities of being a teacher in 2022?
That's a great question, Jeremy. One of the things that I learned to do as far as be myself, right? So when you walk into a space, in order to build an authentic relationship, you have to be your authentic self. And you know, however you show up, if you want people to accept you for who you are, then you have to accept yourself with your strengths and your weaknesses. You need to know what they are. You need to know how you impact a room. I know that sounds crazy, but you need to know your effect on a room when you walk in. So if you are naturally really loud and you know that, oh, Paula, hey y'all, I'm loud, I'm sorry. And they'll know, oh, that's just so and so. And she's kind of loud. She comes from a family of like 7, and they just, you know, they're rambunctious and loving like that, right? So, you know, we have these ideals of what a professional is, what he or she is supposed to look like, sound like, be like. And the truth be told is that we're all very unique individuals. And so we have to show up as who we are. And then in turn, we have to accept that other people are very different from who we are. And we need to be curious and open about, you know, it looking like and knowing people, getting to know them, understanding their differences, understanding why they move the way they move, and their perspective in life, and doing that from a non-judgmental standpoint. So I would definitely suggest, if you're going to build authentic relationships, it has to come from a place of realness. And that realness is being yourself. And that realness is also allowing others to be themselves without that judgment or that criticism. If you see someone is struggling in an area, if you can offer to help, cool. If that's your gift and you're like, hey, you know, I kind of do that well, you know, I can help you with that if you like. If not, then I would suggest, you know, stay positive and encouraging and stay out of the gossip circles and the critic circles when you can, because that can contaminate building relationships if you're having negative conversations about your peers and your coworkers and your students. And so as a veteran teacher, I was in my last building for 11 years. So of course I know a lot of teachers, and we have conversations about the classes that are coming up and the challenges of the sophomore class and the freshman class and, you know, the junior class going to their senior year. But then you also can get into conversations about which student behaves in what way and how they behave to the teacher. Well, when you're meeting students, you never ever want to build your relationship based off a student's relationship with another teacher. Your relationship with that student is unique. It needs to be. And so if you learned information about their family life and things that would help you deal with the student, then that's great. But we don't want to label kids and put them in boxes and assume that how they behave with one teacher, they're going to behave that way with you, and then come off defensive or overly sensitive or whatever position you decide to take. Take that time to learn your kids, learn your coworkers. So when you're creating those relationships, you have to be always in a learning position. You are always a student. Be a student of humanity, and you will be able to build awesome relationships with multiple types of people. You will find that that is the best way to do that.
Wonderful. um, so as far as, you know, there's a lot of BTs. They're getting a lot of information really fast, really furiously, really Vin Diesel-y. Y'all see how I put that in there? That's my dad jokes loading. Okay, sorry. Um, they're getting all this information from us, from their other peers, from their professors, from people in the building. So I know that it would really help for kind of more a succinct question and succinct answer. If you could give one piece of advice to the BTs, what would it be? And any of you can and jump in and answer this.
Well, if I could quickly, oh, I'm sorry, Gina. Okay.
Oh, I was just gonna take a stab at it. Like one of the first pieces of advice when you think about all the information and all the things coming at you, if you're having this sense of feeling of overwhelm, I think it goes back to what all of my colleagues have said is you have to remember you are not alone in that feeling and you are not alone in this work. There is someone somewhere in your building, somewhere in your school district that is having the exact same feeling you are having. And like Aaron and Jenny, everybody has lifted up, you have to find those people. You have to make sure you have those connections with the folks that are moving through it. I think about my very first year of teaching. I'll be honest, y'all, I had my bags packed. I was ready to go. Yes, I was ready to go by the end of the year. But what got me through that was I had a professional learning community. I had a team of other fourth grade teachers that were with me, and we were in the thick of it together. We also know that this is just best practice for our children. When we're thinking about best equitable practices, it's best when we all are communicating together. It's best when we're all on the same page together. And it goes back to what Nicole said about being your authentic self. That means also recognizing your feelings. It's important that our kids see us as human beings, right? It's okay to fall short. It's okay to fail that lesson because guess what? You can go back and do that again the next day. You can go back and fix that even in the moment. But our kids need to see us fail and they also need to see us recover from failure. That is how we humanize the job that we do. I tell people all the time, teaching is really it is a super thing to do, but I am in no way a superhero because I'm a human being. I have all the feelings that everybody else feels, but I want to teach kids how to recover. I want to teach kids how to, embrace challenge and do hard things. And I think that that is something that we need to always remember when you're having those feelings. Don't work in a silo, work with others. Go find your people, collaborate. That is the best tool you can use as a beginning teacher and beyond to stay in this career.
And if I could just piggyback off that awesome advice from our North Carolina Teacher of the Year for 2021, she's so dope. I want to say that build that same community within your classroom with your students. They should be your partners in this thing. It should never be an us against them situation where they feel adults are against the kids, the teachers are against the students. You're trying to make their life hard, all those things. No, they are your co-conspirators in this learning journey. Let's do this work, y'all. I know it's hard, but we got to do it. Like y'all are your team. Your students are a part of your team. And so you have to help them make those connections with each other and with you that says that yes, the work is the hard thing. Graduating is hard, getting to the next grade is hard, and it's hard for all of us, just like Eugenia was saying, all of us, including the teacher. We're going to do this together. We'll cry through it, hold hands, cheer each other on. We're going to do whatever we have to do, but we are going to handle these challenges together and encourage that community environment in your classroom, and your students will start to help other struggling students. You will find that naturally certain teacher assistants will start to pop up. You won't even have to assign the role because they're going to start to want to see their other classmates succeed, because you're creating this atmosphere where we're in this together, leave no classmate behind kind of vibe. So I would definitely suggest that.
So my mentor from when I was a BT, he just retired this year. And so his name was Mr. Bland. And Mr. Bland, when I was in my first 3 years, he would always tell me, Jenny, it's a marathon, not a sprint. And so I passed that same advice on to you all. He would see me in my classroom until 6 o'clock because he also stayed in the building late. But he would see me trying to get involved in everything, that first year, and he would just say, Jenny, it's a marathon, not a sprint. You do not have to be involved in everything, and you do not have to be doing all the things and becoming the master teacher, all this year. You got, God willing, 30 years to do this, or, however long that, until you get called to do something else. And so, yeah, again, kind of like I said earlier, we're excited to have you in this career, and we want you to take care of yourself, and be with us for a long time. And so part of that is making sure that you take care of yourself, and that you feel like you can step away from work and have some time for yourself. I mean, part of being a first, second, third year teacher, is putting a lot of hours in, and there's just no way of getting around that, really. But be good to yourself, and know that you do not have to do everything. Rome was not built in a day. You're not going to be the teacher you feel like you want to be all the time this first year. And so, again, be patient with yourself, because it is a marathon, not a sprint.
And in the middle of that marathon, there's going to be conflicts within yourself. Just like Eugenia said, after her first year, she was ready to call it quits. I'm out. I know I held up the 2 for the deuces, not because I was also out. That's what I felt in my second year. I got home the first day, said, I can't do this anymore. There's going to be conflict, and because you're not going to be in a silo, you are going to be around other professionals. So if one person out of our group, how do you approach conflict and conflict resolution with leadership and other teachers? Because we are all of the understanding that we are here for all the kids. So it's not about us, it's about the kids, all of them. And so we need to be sure that we are our best, but things are going to happen. So if one person could tell me, how do you deal with conflict with leadership and other teachers in the building to progress towards teaching all kids?
Okay, I'll be quick. Okay, so people would always say to me, you get along with anybody. And it's not that I don't have emotions and things of that nature, but first you have to assume the best about people. Like if they're in there in the building, working with children every day, doing this job that is not easy, whether they're an admin or they're a parent, because parenting is so hard, or they're a fellow teacher, we need to assume that they have the well-being of students in mind, even though they have a different perspective. So one thing I've learned is do not villainize people. Do not make them a monster. Do not paint them into a corner from which they cannot ever escape when you're trying to resolve a conflict. The other thing is remember that it's the problem that's the problem and not the person necessarily. So a lot of times it's an issue, and then emotions get out of control sometime, and we have to remember not to take things personally. Somebody sometimes they're having a bad day, and if I had nothing to do with all the previous incidents before that moment in time where I started butting heads with that person, then I don't take that personally, because I'm like, whatever happened before you even saw me. And so I just need to give you space to work through these things. And I do that with my students as well. So want to give people room to process their own emotions, and we can come back and deal with issues at another time. Try not to hold things against people. That backpack of offenses can get very heavy if you're carrying them and you never put them down over the years. So that's definitely an issue. I try to also come in with a smile and stay positive and listen attentively and see things from the other person's perspective. Validating someone's feelings, even if you have to continue to disagree, goes a long way with solving problems. And so those are just some quick tips that I have, even when I'm dealing with parents who are very upset. I have to validate their position as a parent before I go back to my position or my stance as a teacher. And I also validate the feelings of my students, even when I have to stand strong on my principles in that matter. So those are, some tips.
Nicole, as you were speaking, to succinctly say what the wealth of knowledge that you just portrayed, I think back to the four agreements. And basically, when you are speaking with somebody and you are interacting with people, if everybody agrees to the four agreements, things will go a lot more smoothly. And they are: be impeccable with your words, mean what you say, don't take anything personal, don't make assumptions, and always do your best. And so the don't make assumptions and don't take anything personal part is, in my experience, has been what has driven most arguments. And it's interesting because if we can all just agree to those four things daily, and it's a practice, it's a daily practice to be able to do that. I want to throw this question out there. So when we're talking about doing what's best for all kids, we talk about doing what is equitable for all kids. It- Team, talk to me about how, you know, we're only one teacher at one school, but we know we're teaching all kids, and we're trying to do the best for all the kids, even the kids that are outside of our four walls. What are some things that we can do to be an example of equity and inclusion and equitability, so that we can be that light for people that we may not even know, to be an example of how we teach all kids?
I would take that. One of the things that I want to make sure I'm answering your question correctly, Jeremy. So make sure you cut me off if I'm not. But one of the things when I think about when we are trying to make sure that we are leading with a lens of equity, the first thing I think about when I'm trying to lead with a lens of equity in my class specifically is, in order to do that, I have to see my students. I have to see who they are. I have to know more about them. I have to build that relationship with them, right? And I'm a true believer that we should not dare ask kids to do something that we're not willing to do ourselves. So if we are asking kids to seek understanding from each other and try to find common ground, and if we're asking them to, work as a community to create the classroom that we want to all live in together, and that everyone has value and input into that thing, then we should definitely be doing that as well. That's how we practice what we preach. Because what happens is our students, I could build this all up in my classroom, but as soon as there is outside noise or white noise, or the adults are moving differently, that then comes into my classroom because my kids have questions about it. They have questions about, well, Miss Floyd, did you see this? I have fourth graders and my babies have questions. And then it's up to me to make sure that I create a space for them to ask those questions. So if we are really going to be truly leading with a lens of equity, that means we also acknowledge who our children are as well as who we are. I let my kids know when we have discussions, like, they know, hey, Miss Floyd is a Black woman. I am a Black woman. And there are certain things that come with that. And sometimes my kids can name that before I can. So I think that there is really a lot of power in creating space for that. But we have to be willing to do that work. We can't ask kids to have a growth mindset if we are not willing to have a growth mindset as well. When you have a growth mindset, it means that you're willing to learn and grow. And even sometimes with that new knowledge, changing some of your behavior, changing how you talk, changing how you move. And that is something that we want our kids to do, right? You want them to adapt. You want them to learn and grow. And we have to be willing to do that as well. So it's really important. If we're really leading with that lens, we have to make sure that we as adults don't bring our stuff into our classrooms as well, right? We don't want to bring that adult stuff into the classrooms. We want to make sure that we check ourselves so that we can be the absolute best for the kids that we are serving.
I'm just gonna let that simmer and bake for just a second before I moved on. um, because that to follow up with your point, the biggest reworking of parents that we work with and students that we teach is even if they had 50 great teachers, they always remember that one teacher that did something negative towards them. So we can't necessarily afford to bring all our baggage in every day. We have to be the best for them while also recognizing our humanity because we are not superheroes. Um, what awkward transition because I can't transition off of that. What was the biggest aha moment you had as a BT team? When you were a beginning teacher, what's the biggest aha moment that you had?
I should have been paying them. That's one of my aha moments. Like that, it was so bad. It was terrible. But that's my major aha moment. But Nicole, I know you have some more words of wisdom.
You put me out there like that. You are so funny. Um, my biggest aha moment was to pick my battles. Listen, you can't fight every fight, even with students. I just remember getting into a situation where I was trying to take a stance on something, and honestly, I teach high school, and it was something that's really was not appropriate for the classroom, which is certain types of language, and I was trying to explain that to the students, but these teenagers decided that no, they were going to just stand on this together because they felt like it. And I've seen this happen over the years. Like kids will get together on issues and they will just solidify on that thing, whether it's a good idea or not. Right. And they will just make their stand. And you know what? That's good practice for adulthood and when you have to make your stand, right? But I realized as a BT when I made that mistake of trying to explain to the students my perception of use of certain language in the classroom that they weren't having it that day. And I was like, I learned a very valuable lesson about how not to address certain issues in the classroom. First of all, pick your battles. Second of all, make sure that when you are trying to handle something that's inappropriate, you start privately first, if you can, quietly, and dealing with that one student instead of making it like a big production in front of the class to teach those kids a lesson. They will gang up together against you. They're the same age, and you become that parent that they wanted to say these things to all these years. Don't do that. All right. So I just want to tell you, pick your battles.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I'll share. So, like I've alluded to before, I, have been fortunate to kind of be surrounded just by a great group of teachers, not just my mentor, but there were other folks in the building who, invited me to their space to partner with them and to hear my ideas. And so I think one of my aha moments was, even as a BT, like I've got things to offer too. I actually co-presented with a couple of colleagues my second year teaching. And then I was like, they liked what I had to say, like me, like I'm just a BT too, but like I felt like I had something to offer. And so please know that same thing that I felt, like that's true of you guys too. You have a lot to offer, and don't think for 1 minute that you're like, oh, well, I'm a BT, so I can't lead that, or I can't share this at a conference or to my PLC because I'm just a BT and they're not going to like it because I'm a BT. No, we need your fresh ideas. We need your fresh eyes, your fresh mind, your energy. So don't forget how much you already have to offer at this point in your career.
Because Jenny, it's interesting. We do the worst as teachers because we have such we're so humble, or that our humility ends up giving us too much imposter syndrome that we don't know what we are, and we don't give ourselves enough credit. I would encourage the BTs. You have worked your entire life to get to this moment. Every step of your entire life, everything you've ever been interested in, everything that you've ever done, every conversation you've ever had, every internship you took, every class you dropped, every class you took, every interaction you had with an adult growing up has led you to be a teacher in the state of North Carolina. That means You're supposed to be here. So don't walk around like you know everything. We don't know everything, but walk around and says, I know things. I can contribute. There are positive things I can bring to this culture of school. I am not a robot. They didn't hire me to be a robot. They hired me because they saw something in me to bring to the school. So let your whole self shine in that way. And if you ever get down on yourself thinking of all the things you don't know because all the things are coming at you at 100 miles an hour, update your resume, not so you can leave the school, but to remind yourself how much of you are. All right. Anybody else want to add? Sorry, I did not mean to go on that tangent. Okay. So what, as we kind of close this out, what's something that you believe our BTs should know so they can always be their best for their kids? We've touched on being the best for the kids, but what's something that they should know? Do this and you can be the best for your kids always. Aaron, I see your hand up.
I first need to acknowledge that I'm the only person in our group not wearing my red shirt today. Look at these people, y'all. We have shirts. We have t-shirts. I am at the beach. I packed my t-shirt and I did not wear it to the interview, to this panel today. So I am in spirit, in solidarity, wearing my shirt, just so y'all know. I have to acknowledge that. We look good in our shirts when we all wear them. Anywho, so you know what? I want y'all to know that your voice matters. Just as the folks before me have alluded to, imposter syndrome is real. I still have it. But your voice does matter. And I just read something the other day on probably Twitter about how teachers are extremely high in agreeableness in personality, meaning conflict is hard. You know what? I may be at a faculty meeting and they maybe pass it around some candy and I may not like it, but you know what? I'm going to take that chocolate. I do love chocolate anyway, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't like to get in disagreements with people. And so this article I was reading was saying that what happens then is you may not feel like your voice is heard. You may feel disempowered. That leads to resentment. That leads to very negative feelings, right? Like I will be transparent and say that I've had that experience myself. But what I've learned is that you have to be, don't be shy. Make those relationships with your colleagues, your parents, your students, so that you can be your authentic self to then therefore share your voice, which matters. That's something that's taken me. This was my 17th year of teaching. Took me a long time to figure that out, but your voice does matter, and it makes a difference for your kids. So just remember that the imposter syndrome. Just push it behind you, and take that leap and be brave.
That's awesome, Aaron. And to build off that, ask. I mean, a lot of people just won't ask for the resources. They won't ask to go to that special PD and ask for the principal to help support that journey. Ask for, those things for the classroom for their kids. Ask their coworkers for the help that they need. So definitely ask. And you might find that you get a lot of what you ask for, and other people around you may look at you oddly because they never would ask, and so they're like, how do you get special favor? No, I didn't. I just asked a question. Can we do this? Can we have this? Can we take this risk? Can the kids go here? Can we take this field trip? So, don't think you have to come in and be status quo, or you can't be creative, or you can't, have ideas, and that there are not enough resources. Do ask, and you will be surprised how many yeses you get. You will get some no's, but that's okay. We're just looking for the yeses. This is all we're trying to do. Ask questions until we get to the yes that we want. All right. So that's my advice.
The worst you can get is a no, which is what you already would have gotten anyway if you didn't ask. Anybody else got anything to add for that last one?
Tia, Tell them who we work for.
Y'all know who we work for. I said it this morning too. You don't work for nobody else but children. So Jenny, I love you so much for calling me out on that one because you know I was geared up for it. That is my piece of advice. Remember who you work for. That's who you advocate for. That's who you cheer for. That's who I tell people that's who I go hard for. Like I go hard for children. And so at the end of the day, it is all about them. We don't have jobs without them. I wouldn't be anybody's teacher of a year of nothing without them. So we have to always remember that and always put that in the forefront of your mind. And I always take it back to when I have interacted, going back to Jeremy's question about the conflict. I go back to my thought of this is, and it's my piece of advice as well. People advocate for children the best way they know how. Now, whether or not that's good or bad, like whatever their approach is, that's their business. But they advocate the way that they know how. And so I would also suggest you do the same. You advocate for children and the kids that you serve in your classroom and the kids that you work for the best way you know how. If you don't know what to ask, I literally was that person who didn't know what to ask, Nicole. And I went to the principal's office and was like, I don't know what to do. My babies don't understand this part of the unit and I need some help. So figure it out. I need some all hands on deck, And so you can do that. Even if you don't know the question, just say what the problem is. So that is my bit of advice. That's what we work for, y'all. Those kids.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, since we are winding down, I'm going to let each of our wonderful, amazing educators, if in one or two words, two-word advice, a two-word send-off, one or two words, or even three words. I'm not going to be strict about it. This is not graded. This is not a formative or a summative assessment. So we can send the BTs on their way with something tangible. One or two words. I'll give you 10 seconds to think about it. And I'm going to call Erin now. Oh, good. She already raised her hand. There you go.
Pace yourself, ask for help. I think that's a theme we've heard today anyway, but pace yourself and ask for help.
Jenny? Oh, Jenny, you muted.
I wanted to go first because I didn't want anybody to steal mine. So I'm glad you didn't take mine, Erin. Simply, thank you.
Nicole?
Be great. You are great.
Eugenia?
The last bit is have fun.
And I'll say your why is great, but always seek your how. And thank you guys for having us.
Wow. Thank you so much for all of the wonderful inspirational words that you all shared with us. If you all could hear everybody clapping, I'm sure they're applauding. Thank you all for providing such rich discussion and inspiring words of encouragement during our Lunch and Learn session. Hopefully everyone enjoyed the Lunch and Learn a lot. We look forward to having everyone join us again at 3 o'clock for the Beginning Teacher of the Year panel discussion, which will be moderated by the 2022 NCAP Prudential North Carolina Beginning Teacher of the Year, Xavier Adams. At this time, participants, please go forth to select recorded sessions from the catalog for the evening session. And remember, we'll see you again at 3 o'clock.